All right. Go ahead.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks, Johanna. Welcome, everybody. This is our weekly gathering in which we discuss a week's worth of course workbook lessons. And for this week, we'll be focused somewhat on lessons 15 through 21. My name is Manu, and along with Johanna, I'm one of the volunteers at the Foundation for Inner Peace, which has been the conduit for this amazing presence of the course and of the divine in our lives. So welcome everybody. We can get going here. Um, would like to begin today with a prayer, of course, and so we can get going into that in just a quick moment. And um, welcome, Deborah. What we'd like to do today is um, just go briefly through the 7 lessons, and maybe what I'll do is I'll kick off lesson 15, and then we'll get into it a little bit. We'll see how the Spirit guides us in sharing what needs to be shared, and then from there we'll try and cover each lesson through number 21 and just go where we need to go today.
Sure. Sounds perfect.
Okay, wonderful. Anything else you'd like to add, Johanna, before we jump in?
No, I think you said it all. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to be sharing my screen on and off, sharing a few captures that I have from the lessons, as well as some prayers. So let's get
Right.
going. I'm going to share the prayer, and so this is the prayer that came up as I was looking for some prayer to focus on. And I think we can begin with this. This is obviously from lesson 358. No call to God can be unheard, nor left unanswered. And of this I can be sure. His answer is the only one I really want. Just before we started, there was a period of silence. So why don't we experience a little bit of silence and see what we can experience in this beautiful piece. So with this, we call on God, the presence that is literally everywhere and in every time. And we call that we be guided, and that are the words that leave our mouths, that we utter, are beautiful and sweet, and nudge us into the peace and love that we all are as one. So with that, let me jump in to this document that I prepared. And what I did was I used the web edition of A Course in Miracles, which, if you're not familiar with it, you can find on acim.org. And the other thing I did was, as I read through each lesson, and we'll go through all these lessons, I noticed that at least for some of these lessons, a lot of what was important or apparently important was in the first paragraph or two. So I literally copied some of that just based on how I was led, and also highlighted some sentences which I thought would be interesting to focus on. So if you'll allow me, I'd like to lead us through lesson 15, and then we'll have all of us do something similar with the other lessons like we tried to do last week as well. So lesson 15, as you can see, it says, my thoughts are images that I have made. So I was thinking about this, and I remember reading through this lesson even when it showed up on day 15 of this year. Because even though I've done the workbook several times, I like to at least read the lessons on a daily basis and see how they might be applicable to me. So I was thinking about this, and then so let's read some of the highlighted sentences here and then come back, and I'll give you my interpretation of how I see this working out for me. And then I have a reference to the course from another part of the workbook as well. So it says, it is because the thoughts you think appear as images that you do not recognize them as nothing. You think them, and so you think you see them. So in, obviously some of this language can be confusing or may not be, but certainly it can be confusing to me. And so I was trying to wrap my brain and my heart around these sentences. And so I said, okay, language and words, as the course tells us, are symbols of symbols twice removed, right? So we have made symbols of certain things to which we have given our own meaning. So as an example, if I have my cell phone in front of me, I'm calling, first of all, I'm saying it's my cell phone. Then I'm calling something that looks like this a cell phone, right? So already I have these thoughts about images. The first image being my, a second image being.
Oh, it's interfering, Manu. You need to switch it off, I think.
No, I think it was somebody else. It wasn't coming.
Oh, sorry.
from
I
me.
thought it was.
What?
I thought your phone was
I have a OneDrive. Oh my God. Why is connecting to that?
Oh, I think one of us is can be muted so that we can continue.
Yeah, that's one spreadsheet that I made, but I made it at my house. I put it on
Becky?
OneDrive.
Becky, would you mute
then-
yourself, please?
I didn't realize it's on OneDrive, right? I always don't want to
Becky?
use the OneDrive.
Something's
Johanna,
wrong.
do you have the ability
I
to
don't either,
possibly?
but
No, I
sometimes
don't.
it turns
I don't
on
have the ability.
automatically.
That's.
Okay.
Becky?
We'll
Yeah.
pull out.
No worries, no worries. Let her finish. We can. Hi, Becky, are you there? Okay, she's probably stepped away. That's okay. That was another example of how images and thoughts that we make about images,
Exactly.
intersect with all of life. So Becky is an image that I have made in my mind because I see her name on Zoom, and there's even a picture that shows up in her likeness. And so it's entirely an assumption on my part. I have no idea if Becky is actually Becky and what does Becky even mean. I'm assuming that it's a name that's associated with the person who shows up in Zoom. So I think that's a good example. So if you look at the last highlight, number 7 in the first paragraph, it says, it takes the place of seeing, replacing vision with illusions, right? So because of the whole story that I've made up in my mind, I am using that to interpret reality. And by doing that on a constant basis, I'm living in an illusory world. And therefore, I don't have the possibility of truly witnessing what might be real. While I'm at it, I'm going to share one more thing and then open it up for discussion, which is, if you go to the web edition, and I looked up lesson 53, which is a review of lessons 11 through 15. And the reason I did this is because if you remember from your study of the workbook lessons, when a review is being done, it goes and shares some new language and maybe a new interpretation on what we understand of this lesson. So for example, in this review, the first sentence says, whatever I see reflects my thoughts. It is my thoughts that tell me where I am and what I am. And so, that talks to what I was just trying to express through my words and through my language. So having shared that, I'm going to stop sharing on the screen so that we can see each other better and just talk about this lesson and what you think it means to you.
If I may?
Yes, please go ahead.
At first, I thought when that happened, when Becky was starting to talk, I thought, oh dear, something's gone wrong. And you turned it around, and that was just awesome. I just thought that was really the artist at work. It was really awesome. And I think you were right, because it was an image that we saw. And of course, Becky's a person, and I'm not talking about that, but it was what it was doing in my mind. It was creating, perhaps not panic, but it was sort of like something's wrong creating in my mind, which is totally an interpretation. It's an image that I made. It couldn't have been a more clear example. So that was really great.
It's a great reminder that everything that's happening is happening for a purpose that can teach us if we are open to that teaching.
What I found interesting is you started with the example of a cell phone. And she ended up answering to a call. It's funny how Stuart brought the answer, to give us an example.
It's truly amazing. It's mind-bogglingly a playful lesson that we can learn at every step of the way.
Like you said, if you're open to it, but if your mind is all occupied by thoughts that reflect an interpretation, there's no room. And the other thing that I was thinking about reading this lesson is it addresses that we think that our eyes, our physical eyes, that they see, but the Course is just, saying that's not seeing at all. And that was very hard for me at first to accept. So why do I have eyes if you can't call that seeing? But year after year, coming across it and then seeing it in real life, that what's true in a situation is not what you see with your eyes. It's the love that's present in there, the light that's present. That's what's true. And the physical eyes, they're not equipped to pick up on that.
That's beautiful. Any other thoughts? Otherwise, we can move on to the next lesson and see how it might even be connected.
All right.
All right, let me do that. Okay, can we have one of you maybe speak lesson 16 and then maybe even lead us through a little bit of a discussion, if you please. Okay, so would it be okay, Deborah, if I call on you and have you do that for us? And you're on mute right now.
Here I am.
Yes.
Sure, I could do that. Do I read the whole lesson first?
Whatever you're called to do. Why don't you
Okay.
start with the title and then see if you want to read anything more or not?
Okay. Lesson 16. I have no neutral thoughts. The idea for today is a beginning step in dispelling the belief that your thoughts have no effect. Everything you see is the result of your thoughts. There is no exception to this fact. Thoughts are not big or little, powerful or weak. They are merely true or false. Those that are true create their own likeness. Those that are false make theirs. There is no more self-contradictory concept than that of idle thoughts. What gives rise to the perception of a whole world can hardly be called idle. Every thought you have contributes to truth or to illusion. Either it extends the truth or it multiplies illusions. You can indeed multiply nothing, but you will not extend it by doing so. So what this brings up for me is the statement that's always stated that the course, particularly the lessons, is a course in mind training. That part of the goal is what this is talking about, is to understand that your thoughts either contribute to truth or to illusion, and that you do have a choice, that you can train your mind. You can change your experience of not believing that your thoughts have power. And I mean, that was the first thing that came up for me. And I think we confuse this a lot, and there's some what I would call level confusion, because if I think something bad about a person, I might think I have the power to influence them. And that's really not what it's talking about, that your thought does have an impact, but I think it's on the bigger level, the higher level, where the impact really occurs. I don't know how to say it right. Anybody else have some ideas? Johanna, Linda, Mustafa?
Ardith?
Oh, where's Ardith? Oh, Ardith is on the phone. Hi, Ardith.
Ardith is on, yeah.
Hi. I don't know. The only thing I got stuck on, not stuck, but it strikes me, is the everything you see is a result of your thoughts. There is no exception to this fact. I encounter a lot of times people on different boards who say, what? What is this saying? You know, they just can't. I realized the first time I encountered that I had a lot of trouble with it too. Everything you see is a result of your thoughts, because then I thought to myself, well, you know, what I see doesn't necessarily reflect what my neighbor sees or my mother sees or what. And that's a question. That's a question that I'd like to pose back out there. Did anyone else have that come to them in the very beginning when they were trying to fathom exactly what this is saying? Because that's the first issue, be able to fathom what it's saying to you. And then,
yeah, I think the phrase that this all has to do with perception is what can help clarify that. It's, I don't know, again, I struggle for words sometimes.
Well, that's beautiful, Deborah, because I was an Ardith. I had struggled with this as well. And I would often think about, you know, is the course talking about literal seeing or perceptual seeing, or what level of seeing are we talking about?
Right.
And I don't necessarily have an answer to that, but in the second paragraph, it does talk about what gives rise to the perception of a whole world can hardly be called idle. So Deborah, I tend to lean in what you're suggesting, that we're talking about the perception of the world, and so I, you know, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's all perception, and perception, if I'm understanding it right, has to do with being in the illusion.
Yes.
Because if you're totally not in the illusion, then perception is irrelevant because we're all one. Anyway, I don't know. I think
No, I
there's
think
something more about perception in here, but go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was
No,
just
no,
going
I'm
to say
fine.
I had skipped down to I guess item 3, article 3, which kind of helps to fill in some of the blanks there. I think besides your recognizing that thoughts are never idle, salvation requires that you also recognize that every thought you have brings either peace or war, either love or fear. A neutral thought or a neutral result is impossible because a neutral thought is impossible. I guess what I was trying to, I got from the whole of this, I got to go back up to number 2. I skipped down, and I don't know why I skipped over it. Every thought you have contributes to truth or illusion. The word contribute sticks out to me. I still don't grasp it completely, I will admit, but I think that the key for me is in that word contributes. That somehow this perception that we have, it's like a soup. We all contribute to it. Now I'm going to be lost for words, which is unusual for me, but I don't know if anyone else feels this way. You have later on we'll hear you have no private thoughts. So in this sense, I'm thinking this is kind of like a 7.8 billion individual party that we all go to and bring our own perceptions and our own visions, but it all like contributes into the one, and that's how we somehow or other are able to somehow. I've lost my thought. I heard some noise. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Well, it also,
Let me ask, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
Derek,
that's
are you
fine.
able to mute Becky?
Yes. Done.
Okay, thank you.
So,
All right, so
can I
so
add something?
Deborah, please go ahead, and then Linda also has her hand up
Oh,
after that.
okay. What this reminds me of, it either extends truth or multiplies illusions. It's either a call for love, that phrase. So I think it parallels a call for love or being love. That's all.
Thank you. Thank
What
you,
voice
Linda.
are you listening to? I'm sorry.
Right,
Go ahead.
right,
Yes.
right. But it's also emphasizing that there are no neutral thoughts. So I think we can fool ourselves to say, I'm really neutral about this, or, have no judgment. I think that's a little message to remind us that we do have tons of judgments and different perceptions.
And like the lesson said, there are no idle thoughts. So each thought has some effect. Linda, Derek, and then Mustafa. Linda, please go ahead.
Yeah, I've had some real examples in my life of just an individual with such negative thinking that their entire world is just a mess.
Mm.
And in my own life, I've seen it too. I mean, there have been times I was so sure everything was just horrible. I walked around feeling terrible. Well, since I discovered the course, there's a lot less of those moments. But it's so true. It's even true that, I have my husband out in the other room. He's making the chili. God bless him. It's very cold here in Florida, believe it or not. There's this trick that you send your positive vibes even without talking to your partner. And all of a sudden, your partner's happy too. I mean, the thoughts truly do matter. Anyway, I've just had such vivid examples. I feel sorry. My mom, who's passed, never really was happy in her life. But again, my mom was a lesson to me. She was. And maybe that's part of how I wound up with the course. I was determined to be happy myself.
Wow, beautiful.
Thank you. Derek, go ahead, please.
I just popped in, so you might have already covered this. So I just wanted to check my perception with you guys with regards to there are no neutral thoughts. I look at this thing and what I typically do without even thinking about it is there's a cup, it's real. Just, okay, there's a cup there, it's real. And what I've started doing, and I might be nuts, that's why I want to check in with you guys. I've started going, oh, there's a cup. Oh, hold on a second. That's not real. There is no cup. So in other words, I'm just trying to like invalidate my assumption that things are real. So the next thing I did was I found myself like last night or whatever, looking outside and I'm like, wow, what a beautiful sunset. And I'm like, no, I'm not getting sucked into this. Hold on a second. There is no sunset. This isn't real. I'm going to let that go, and so I've started to sort of go through those mental gymnastics to like loosen my, I want to stop thinking A, that those things are real, and then B, if there are no neutral thoughts, if I think it's real, that's taking me away from God or into the separation. So I'm like trying to loosen that up. And then the sunset example, not only do I think it's there, but on top of that, I put this judgment that it is beautiful. So the power is outside of me to, oh, beautiful versus, oh, ugly. So it's doubly illusion. And so I'm starting to try to like check that, because I don't want to say yes to these believing. So anyway, am I nuts, or is this consistent with what this lesson is saying?
Oh, yes, Derek, you're nuts.
Thanks, Ardith.
No.
All right.
No.
I knew that was coming.
I mean, I think you're finding a way to look at the illusion and know it's an illusion. I mean, sometimes what I'll do with the sunset is say, wow, what a cool illusion,
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
And what I'd add to that, Derek, it's obviously something that we all deal with, as we get reminded to be present. And so I think, so what you're doing has a lot of value, a great value, because you are reminding yourself that there's something going on out there which may or may not be real. And when you do that, you come into presence yourself, into more awareness. And that awareness, that presence is in my opinion, a pointer to what's real. And so whether we judge it this way or that way, and of course, true forgiveness probably means being neutral, if that was possible, which means no thoughts. And so anyway, it's something that we really ought to discuss another time, or even right now. And because at the end of the day, any lesson that's fully grasped and understood and practiced is it. So maybe that's our opportunity right now. So anyway, I just wanted to share what came up for me. And I'm wondering if Mustafa or anyone else has more to add to that.
Yeah, so I just want to make a comment off of Linda's thought, like in terms of, I mean, I was a very happy person, but then I turned negative, and my negative started extrapolating, getting worse and worse. And then when I touched the Course in Miracles, when I was going through my transformation, I started seeing all my thoughts actually have an impact, whether it's positive or negative. And the negative, when I was able to look at the perspective from a different side, put myself in the other side, then I realized I'm starting to make stories in my head. As I was making stories in my head in terms of negativity with the people around me, with my parents, with my family, I was like, whoa, like, who is this person? And that's when I really like, okay, you know what, I made all these stories about these people in my lives, perceiving them in a negative way. And when I went through my forgiveness stage and I started reaching out to people and asking them to forgive me, they were like, what? Right? They didn't even notice. Like, it was all in my mind. Yeah.
So we'll know what that perception issue is when we think we have something down,
Yeah.
what we're seeing, and we go and have an encounter with someone, and we explain to them, "Oh, I'm sorry," or "I felt this way," and they'll say, "What?
Yeah.
I never saw it that way. I never felt it that way." And So you can go from things like looking at a cup and saying it's not real to looking back at your thoughts, and this is a perfect example. We write up stories and stories and stories about these things in our head, and they're not so.
Yeah.
And I think I just second what Manu seconded that Derek said. I think you're hardly crazy. I think that's a great exercise. Because ultimately, you're not going to, when you go have coffee in front of you, you're not going to say, I'm picking up nothing, drinking nothing. But you are trying to get yourself where you get a true idea of what it is you're perceiving and how you're perceiving. And I think then that translates over into our everyday.
And thank you, Ardit. And the other thought that came to my mind, Derek, as you were talking about that too, and thank you, Mustafa, for your beautiful comment as well, was that, we are asked by the course to think about the purpose of anything. And so, and this is my interpretation, so please jump in to correct me or help me improve it. So if I'm picking up the cup, I actually might ask myself, what is the purpose of this cup right now in association with me? And now I can actually get lost in stories and make up shit, but nevertheless, I could say, okay, this cup is meant to give me some sustenance and or provide sustenance to a loved one. So I'm just throwing this out there, and because ultimately the meaning and the purpose of anything is to lead us to at-one-ment and lead us to the experience and memory of where we actually are.
I agree with you completely.
Wow.
I think also too, when that brought home to me right away, came to my mind, what is it for? That is brought up so often in the course of studying the course. That's the main question. What is it for? And you put an exclamation point on it, I think.
Wow. And that just made me teary, because I thought that if I handed the cup to another person or to myself in a loving gesture, oh, you're thirsty. That connected loving gesture coming through all this cup, me, physical body, all that sort of stuff. But that warm-hearted loving gesture is, I think the course says, if anything, the only thing that could be called real in this dream are loving gestures, communications, that sort of thing.
Wow, thanks for bringing that home, Derek. Thank you. Johanna?
Yeah, the good point, Derek. What I was thinking is that a cup and a cell phone, any object that you see, the sunset, anything that we see, in fact, they are in fact a symbol of the separation. They have been brought to our senses, because that's what they are. They've been made so that our senses can pick them up. Our senses themselves being a symbol of the separation. And in the moment that it happened, the atonement was given. And that's when you became teary, when you thought, if I give the cup to somebody else because they're thirsty. So that's the atonement right there.
Wow.
So the cup is no longer a cup. The cup is love extended.
You've answered what it's for.
What's it for?
Exactly.
And just like the body is a communication device, we've used it for exactly that purpose, through the means of the cup, to connect to the love that we are with, in association with anybody else as one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Whew. Thank you, guys.
I'm going.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Derek.
Oh, I was just, I just had a related sunset question. So if you're going to say something as part of what we're talking about, please continue.
I was going to start sharing the next lesson or two, but please jump in. Like I said, even if we focus on one lesson and bring it home like we are attempting to do, that's amazing.
Oh, wonderful. I was just going to say that I think I was talking to my partner a while back, and I said something about, you know, this, I'm releasing my value on the sunset, on the fact that it has the ability to make me feel good when I say, oh, it's so beautiful. And she looked at me like, dude, are you nuts? Like, there's a beautiful thing out there and it could bring you joy. Why would you deny that? You know, it sounded, she's like, what, are you trying to make yourself depressed? You know? And here's my question to everybody, because I'm not there yet. My thought is that if I practice not letting external things sway me emotionally one way or the other, if I practice releasing attachment from beautiful things and ugly things equally, at some point I'm thinking that sort of this love of God, or just this internal inherent natural joy that is unrelated to anything I see, will start to fill up my life. And then I'm in a state of joy, whether I'm helping a bunch of people in a car crash or whether I'm on a beach sipping a daiquiri and there's a quote unquote beautiful sunset. That's not going to matter because it'll be an internal source of joy. And so what I'm thinking is I'm practicing letting go of being controlled by the external so that ultimately the internal will sort of take over. It hasn't really happened that much. Sometimes I'm filled with this internal joy, maybe 2 times a week, kind of randomly. But my girlfriend thinks I'm nuts. I'm just curious what you guys think.
I think you're beautiful. You spoke it so beautifully.
You really did. And I think you are a Holy Spirit plant in this conversation.
Yes.
So you first took it home from my perspective when you talked about the love and its connection, you know, through the cup. And then I think it's amazing. I was thinking exactly what you uttered, Derek, that by being truly, it's not a great word, but by being truly detached to what's in front of us and then arriving in that thoughtless, peaceful state, that's been my experience. Then there's a natural joy and bliss that emerges, which is just present whenever we are fully present and quiet. And then everything is beautiful. It truly is, whether it's the sunset or it's the ray of sun, you know, just dropping gently on a beautiful green leaf, whatever it may be.
So it colors sort of your perception of everything in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Johanna,
what's happening is I'm sorry, go ahead.
Ardith, why don't you go first because you're on the phone, and then Johanna can go after you.
Phone privileges. Yeah, no, I feel what Derek was saying, and I think we all do. It's like when you're looking at the sunset, the difference is as you practice this, it becomes more and more a habit that you make a space for true vision to come through you. And it happens inside so that what you're feeling is actually changing your vision. And yet it's the same, but it's repurposed. The Holy Spirit has repurposed your looking at that sunset. And the more you do that, like you said, you experience it now and then, I think for all of us, it becomes more and more and more, everybody in different ways, but you'll never look at that sunset the same way again because the beauty is not in what you think you're seeing. The beauty is within.
Yes. Wow.
God is in everything I see because God is in my mind.
Yes.
Wow.
Thank you, Holy Spirit plant.
Yes.
Thanks, Ardith.
Yeah, Johanna, please go ahead.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking. It is the beauty in you that links up with the beauty in the sunset. And that's why it makes you so happy. And the other thing I was thinking is releasing a cup and releasing the form of a sunset doesn't mean you have to reject it.
Oh,
And the Course says, you know, that what the ego has made is neutral. We think it has all kinds of properties because we have interpretations interfering, but it's all neutral. And if we manage to not write upon it what the ego thinks, and we step back, then God will write the truth on it. And that's what you do when you release your hold on it. You do not reject it, but you release your hold. And then the beauty in it will link up with the beauty in you. And the joy in you will link up with the joy in it.
That is so helpful, because as you were saying that, I realized, and when I did my mental gymnastics that I've been doing, I've been making an error that you just pointed out. Instead of me looking at whatever and just going meaningless, valueless, neutral, however you want to call it, I've sort of been like, oh, I see you trying to make me think you're real. And then I, in a sense, had a rejection energy.
Yeah.
You're not real. I know you're not real. You're not going to emotionally affect me. And so there's sort of a reactionary as just opposed to a neutral awareness or meaninglessness or something.
Yeah, because then it becomes a blank and the truth can be written on it.
Deborah, please go ahead. You'll have to unmute first.
I'm not sure where to do the computer hand. If we define unattachment as being passersby, you know, not of the world, but not in the world. Anyway, you got it. Being passersby, then we can appreciate the beauty. You know, we can, and aren't these qualities of the happy dream? I think but I think your self-analysis is right, that you were rejecting. You said, you know, go away. I don't want to see you. You're messing with me.
Right.
But we can be passersby and see again, wow, what a cool illusion, you know, but not be attached and still think the sunset's beautiful. At least that works for me.
That's helpful too.
Let's glance at some of the other lessons. So the very next one is totally related. It says, I see no neutral things, because we have no neutral thoughts. That's the reason we see no neutral things. As I mentioned, I've only taken snippets of the early sentences in a particular lesson. So Derek, you want to read us lesson 18, which is on the top of the screen?
Sure. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. The idea for today is another step in learning that the thoughts which give rise to what you see are never neutral or unimportant. It also emphasizes the idea that minds are joined, which will be given increasing stress later on.
Thank you. And while we are here, let's also read through the next one, because again, you know, these are related. Who would like to do that? Mustafa, possibly? You're on a mute, Mustafa.
Okay. I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. The idea for today is obviously the reason why you're seeing does not affect you alone. You will notice that at times the ideas related to thinking precede those related to perceiving, while at other times the order is reversed. The reason is that the order does not matter. Thinking and its results are really simultaneous, for cause and effect are never separate.
That's beautiful. So lesson 18 was, I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. And the next one is, I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. So my seeing and my thoughts are really the same thing, which is what lesson 19 is elucidating and expanding on.
Giving us a view of that simultaneity of thinking and results. Each one of these steps is introducing us up a rung to understanding the complete retraining of our thinking.
Yes, yes. Step by step, it's really having us look at our thoughts. When do the thoughts come up? What are they trying to do? What apparent object out there are they referencing, and in what manner? And what is it doing to our state of being? Is it helping us be at peace and in love? Or is it the opposite of that, which is fear and acrimony? Linda, please go ahead. You're on mute.
Yeah, I had a couple thoughts. First of all, we're here in school on this planet. We must have to learn something. I can see the absolute way of thinking, but also since we're in the schoolhouse here, we have to deal with what we've got. We all know war is bad. It's just the thought we have. We all know going to church would be a good thing. I mean, we all have this thing in our mind of what's good or bad. Thing is, just to recognize that if you see something bad, well, that's going to be the cause of what you see on the outside, right? So you see something that's just horrible and you dwell on it, and it keeps repeating in your mind. Recently, I learned about the 3 R's, the new 3 R's. So you recognize that really negative thing and how it's just messing with what you're seeing. And then you'd be willing to release it, let it go, give it up. And once you've really given it up, then you can do the replace with a better thought, okay? And hopefully in that way, since your thoughts have gone better, right, then the effect should come out and be better, right? So as I said, I'm way down in the real world thinking because, hey, I'm a practical Capricorn. I want a happy world. So I have to stop reading the news and going, oh my God, how awful, recognize what I'm thinking, be willing to release it, stop dwelling on it, replace it with some other thought. Sometimes it's a matter of going to the Good News Network online. Did you ever discover that website?
Never heard of it.
Good News
Yeah.
Network. There actually are some good stories in the world, but most media won't tell you about it because it doesn't make people pay attention. But just thought you should know, I really do try to watch my thoughts these days because, I've just recently retired. Being in the work world for all these years, oh my God, all it takes is one person complaining about something and then the others join in and then they're all in bad moods. So just thought I'd put that out there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I just slip in for 1 second about that news idea that she brought up? I went through I've been going through an experiment, I guess about the last 6 months. And I'm no longer a news junkie. I only look at absolutely something I need to, where I have a service that I get a headline or something, or I talk to someone who will tell me when something really horrific is going on. They very rarely ever bring up anything that's wonderful. But you would be very surprised. I was shocked at exactly how much of a therapeutic exercise that is. Because when you do that, your thoughts begin to change completely. So even if you come back to a series of things going on in the news that is important, that somebody brings to your attention, you just don't think about them in the same way anymore. I don't know if anyone else would like to try that experiment, but believe me, it's almost like a cleansing.
Yes, yes. I couldn't agree more. I've definitely tried that. Derek, what would you like to share, whether it's directly connected to this or to a previous thought?
Yeah, I love what Ardith just said. My comment is 2 steps back to what you and Linda said about not being alone and experiencing the effects of my seeing or thinking. And Linda just mentioned how, one bummed out person in the workplace can pretty soon everybody's bummed out. And I think of that sort of energetic entrainment thing or resonance. You pluck one guitar string and the other guitar strings start vibrating just by virtue of it, in training to the same thing. And so I was thinking not only, we see something and we have a judgment and it puts us we have an attitude and it puts us at a certain energetic vibration or mood, and you start stinking up the room or in the positive as well, but let's say stinking up the room with the grumpy mood. That affects people in the proximity. They see the look on your face. Maybe they psychically feel your vibe. I don't know how it all works, but it clearly happens. But I'm also thinking of how, we are psychically connected across distance, and mothers and children, they know when things happen and all that. And I'm wondering if my bad mood affects people I know and people I don't know that are not anywhere near me in ways that I don't even understand, which I think the course alludes to. And then maybe even the butterfly effect. My slight bad mood might be affecting Alpha Centauri or rocking the universe in some negative way or cause a supernova. And it's just me having this is a stupid cup. I wish I had a bigger one. So I just think it's phenomenally complex as that how impactful we might be. That was just my thought.
Thank you. Thank you. Linda, you want to add a few words to that or to anything?
Yeah, I'll try not to forget my first thought, but from what he just said, I have no doubt that all the wonderful course people that I get in touch with, they're sending me vibes that I'm getting. I know it. I even had a friend tell me, a Course in Miracles friend in an email, he said, now that you're retired, the course is going to mean even more to you. And it is, because you don't have all that other crap coming on you that's was such minutia. I'm just recently retired. Okay. It's only been this month, but I am finding that having the time to truly focus on what's important is just great. And also watching my mind. Now that's where the thought I didn't forget. So the way you do the course, of course, is you do it as soon as you wake up, right? You try not to let anything interfere with you doing it early. So I've been watching my mind. I'm doing my course in the morning. And wouldn't you know, there's this little ego going, but what about CNN? You haven't done CNN yet. What's happening in the world? You got to hurry up. It's because going to CNN and NBC News and all that stuff became a habit when I was working, because there'd be down times. And you can't go into your Facebook or something at work because you might get caught. So, but you can go into CNN or you can go into NBC News or the local news, and so that became my habit. Don't they say it takes 2 weeks to break a habit? So maybe that or longer. So I'm watching myself. I'm recognizing it, that there I am. I'm sitting down, I'm doing the course. I try to have my coffee with me, so my brain's actually working. But that little ego, sure enough, it's like, okay, good, but I'm getting antsy. When are you going to look at CNN? So just thought I'd tell you.
I so relate to that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. In fact, every thought of ours is extremely powerful. So, if you go to lesson 54 and look at the further commentary on I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts, I'll just read it out for Ardith's benefit, unless you
No,
also...
I've got it right here. I opened the book, so go ahead.
Thank you. So why don't we all read this paragraph that's in front of us? Hopefully it's quite legible.
Wow.
speaks directly to what you said, Derek. And I think related to this in the last few minutes that we have, if we can glance at lesson 20 and 21, it goes back to a decision we made at some point where we wanted to experience what we are experiencing right now. We wanted to have a go at this illusory world, and so we made a spirit-based decision, or whatever you want to call it, to do this. So similarly, we can call on our will, which is one will with everything, to say that I am determined to see. So let's not lose, like this says, we have not lost sight of the crucial importance of the reversal of our thinking. The salvation of the whole world depends on it. And then the idea continues into lesson 21. So not only, so previously, not only is our thoughts so important, each and every one of our thoughts is important, and it bleeds into all of our collective thoughts. So we want to take the power of our thinking, which is ultimately creative, to decide that we are determined to see just like things are, just like the way God sees things.
Focused in right when you were talking, just automatically focused in on lesson 20, number 2, which brings us both to the structure of what we're learning and also to the ultimate purpose, where it says this is our first attempt to introduce structure. First attempt. Do not misconstrue it as an effort to exert force or pressure. Thank you. You want salvation, you want to be happy, you want peace. You do not have them now because your mind is totally undisciplined. And you cannot distinguish between joy and sorrow, pleasure and pain, love and fear. You are now learning how to tell them apart, and great indeed will be your reward.
Thank
Amen.
you, Ardith. That's so beautiful.
Thanks, of course.
Well, the course is you.
That's true. Okay, you can thank me again then if you want to. Go right ahead. I'll take it. You're welcome.
Well said, Mike.
That's the whole point of being one. I mean, there is nothing else.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I feel so one with you right now. I can't tell you.
Thank you. I have a prayer also lined up for us to finish this session, but is there anything else, Linda or anyone else you want to share before we jump into the prayer?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say that I did this lesson 20 at a conference a few years ago with a really great teacher, and she made us underline in section 5, repeat slowly, positively, that I am determined to see. She had us underline, what you desire, you will see. And then she went on about cause and effect, because when I was younger, I was not so happy being a school teacher in Pennsylvania. I thought that crappy town, that crappy job was what was making me sad. Wow, what a flip. No, my thoughts about it all was why it was turning out that way. I've changed my life now. I'm happy now. But just wanted to pop that in there because that was a big, important lesson, lesson 20 in that conference.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
Let's be determined to see. Let's totally be determined to see. And let me share this prayer, which I'll also repeat or speak. Father, we do not know the way to you, but we have called and you have answered us. We will not interfere in salvation's ways. Salvation's ways are not our own, for they belong to you, and it is unto you we look for them. Our hands are open to receive your gifts. We have no thoughts we think apart from you, and cherish no beliefs of what we are or who created us. Yours is the way that we would find and follow. And we ask, but that your will, which is our own as well, be done in us and in the world, that it become a part of heaven now. Amen.
Amen.
Remind me what that's from?
I just searched for it and found it. We can look it up on the web edition to know exactly where it's from, Linda. Let me see if we can do that before we hang up. Okay.
I've got it right here.
Okay.
I will paste it into the chat here. I think I got
Great.
the right one.
Thank you.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Workbook A189. Okay.
Yeah, that's 189, lesson 189. I
That's
feel
in
the love.
189. Thanks.
Beautiful prayer. Thank you, Manu.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
I have
you.
a friend who has this stuff kind of memorized, and I'm like, "Well, how did you know where that was?" Now I have to have somebody tell me. 189.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for an amazing time together.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Yes,
the
thank you.
foundation for inner peace to make this possible for us to come together and do this in such a loving, beautiful manner.
Absolutely.
So until next time then.
Bye.
Right.
Thank you so
Good
much.
Thank
seeing
you.
everybody. See
Bye.
you next
Love
week.
you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.